Hello, everybody, and welcome to, well, I was gonna say another episode of the Nen Show, but I guess it kind of isn't. So, yeah, hello. How are you doing, Mathwiz?
Yeah, I'm here.
Alright, so, yeah, I guess you should explain it, perhaps, because, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the patrons, all of our patrons voted, and we were going to be reading Toriko next for the Nen Show. And, like, I kind of knew in the back of my head, and I think, I don't know, you probably have some different feelings than I do, but, like, I knew, like, in the back of my head that, like, all right, one of these days, like Kenshin or Toriko, like one of those series is going to come up, and I hadn't like actively thought about I guess how I felt about potentially covering those on the podcast. And it was just like, okay, they voted for Toriko, I'll give it a shot. I'm going to go in not really like I knew I was going to be going in already like approaching it with like, very clearly like not supporting it officially and whatever but like it just I read the first volume of it. I was trying to like get through it, and I just wasn't. It's not even that like it's not even that it had anything to do with me disliking the manga. It's just like I could not bring myself to approach it in good faith, knowing that like the stuff with the mangaka, and yeah, ultimately I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, no, I understood when you explained it, and like, cause I was even thinking, cause we ended the Boruto episode thinking like, probably gonna have to start the next episode with a 30-minute discussion on separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
But, in this case, cause my personal thought is like, cause I read the first volume of Toriko and I was like, fuck, I like it. And then I read like a couple more. I think I've read 4 volumes out of the reading, which is a little over 6 volumes, because I just stopped when we decided that we weren't going to do it. And yeah, I did like it, but that's because it's not like I don't know what the author did, because like Dot, a friend of the Weeb Club, basically sort of DM'd me about it because he started reading Toriko, and he brought up a video by Turkey Tom, which discussing Shimabukuro. But he didn't have any sources, and he made some weird claims, so I ended up looking into it myself. Admittedly not, like, I mean, DeepL translations of Japanese Wikipedia aren't exactly the best sources, but, I have I understand what happened, basically. Well, because, like, he did the compensated dating things, he got busted for it, he was let off on suspension, basically, or probation, rather, and then, he did another manga, Ring, like about a year and a half, less than a year and a half after the trial, basically, and then Toriko came out a few years later. So, and is also his previous series, Den Takashi, which was, there's been some discussion in your server about how, Toriko, because you asked if Toriko was influential or anything, and the answer really was, like, it pushed it a lot. It was a success in its own way, but like there really haven't been any authors who've been like, yeah, Toriko, where it's his previous series that got canceled actually was more important and influential. Like it was kind of like, it came around I think it came out literally like a week apart from One Piece, and alongside Hunter x Hunter, they were sort of like before the big 3 really like got going. Those 3 series were sort of important, but so that's my understanding of sort of like the history around that period, up to a degree. And but yeah, one thing I was gonna say in regards to the separating the art from the author thing is like I wouldn't blame anyone for not wanting to watch the Nen Show episodes on Toriko knowing about the author, or even not reading it at all, and that includes Mathwiz, like so I guess in regards to that, so what we're going to do is like, so I am going to try and I'm going to finish rereading Toriko myself, and what I'll probably do is I'll just do a kind of like what Mathwiz did for the Reverie and the Hunter x Hunter Succession War, where you did your solo videos for like an hour or so just discussing your thoughts. So I'll probably just do a video with my thoughts on Toriko after rereading the whole thing, so just so that way, like, the patrons still get something Toriko related because they voted on it, even if we're not doing that. But as for the next Nen Show series, what we're going to do is this episode is coming out on the 30th of April. So it's coming up with if the Patreon already has a poll with, it's basically the same series as last time with one substitution for the next series that the person who picked Toriko picked. Which, by the way, so two things. One is just like, I guess I'll just say that we're not reading Rurouni Kenshin on the Nen Show. I'll probably privately read it myself at some point because it is a notable shonen manga, and I am interested in it. And personally, I have, I just, I don't know, when it comes to separating the art from the author, one video that stuck with me, I think it was, I want to say Weekend Warrior was the YouTuber, but it's been so long I don't fully remember. But they did a video comparing Louis C.K. and Watsky, the author of Kenshin, whose name is kind of
Nobuhiro Watsky, I think.
Oh, it was what? Oh, okay, I did remember correctly. Yeah, and his point was basically that like he's still able to enjoy Rurouni Kenshin because the author doesn't or what the author did doesn't show up in the work necessarily. Where with Louis C.K., a lot of his jokes do relate to what he was, caught doing, basically. So it's like, and he even showed one, and just knowing, it didn't work, land. So that's like something I tended to agree with personally. But there's obviously more like potential situations because like I also enjoy, Harry Potter. Haven't reread that and recontextualized my feelings on, even though I feel like the work kind of very much disagrees with J.K. Rowling's own ideals. And then there's also, I also liked Ender's Game and Speaker for the Dead, especially. And the author of those is a fucking raging homophobe. So it's like, well, fuck. It's like, it's just fucking shitty creators all around, But
yeah, I mean, I know I definitely kind of have some experience with this. Not quite with media, but like a lot of pro wrestlers or shit.
That's right.
Or like have done really fucked up stuff. Like obviously there's the whole like Dark Side of the Ring series, but that focuses a lot more on people from like the 80s and 90s, but just like, yeah. So I mean, I want to make it clear that it's like I don't judge anyone who was interested in reading Toriko. Like I think if this hadn't been for a podcast, like I don't know, maybe my thoughts on reading it would be different because like, part of the podcast is also to kind of like get a grasp on like the history of Shonen Jump as a magazine not just Shonen Jump, we've talked about other stuff, but just kind of how it's evolved over the years. But yeah, like sometimes when it comes to separating art from the artist, I like really have to question myself, like, well, why do I want to separate? Like, now I feel like saying what do I gain isn't the right approach, but just like, sometimes it's like, well, I don't want to separate the art from the artist. Like, I don't want to give them that credit. Even, people can change and get better. I don't know. Maybe I'm just cynical and thinking that like, oh, he was back in the magazine just a couple of years later and just feeling like, well, I don't know.
The reason for that too is, so I haven't double checked this myself, but, just knowing the relationships between manga authors, like, people are not happy with Oda because he was and still is friends with both Shimabukuro and Watsky, which to explain my...
it's also not even just Oda, from what I understood.
That too, like, even the fact that Jump still continued to publish them, people aren't happy with, and I'm not going to say that they're wrong, but because, like, as you were kind of saying, like, I don't know nearly enough about the situation to judge necessarily because like if Shimabukuro and Watsky legitimately like I did wrong, I've changed as a person and move on to be better, that's fine. If they're kind of shitty about it and like they legitimately don't care, then that's fucked up. I don't know, I have no idea. And even Oda, like, I respect him as a creator, but I also don't necessarily know him well enough as a person. Like, is him vouching for, because like with Watsky, Oda was an assistant for him for a little bit. And like he deeply respects Watsky because he learned a lot from his period. And then Shimabukuro was like, Shimabukuro actually did like a short one-shot manga for One Piece's 20th anniversary that I reread yesterday because I figured it was going to come up. and basically Shimabukuro talking about how like he became aware of Oda like from Wanted, the first one shot, and being like, wow, this guy's the same age as me, but he's like so much better. And just, you know, having a lot of respect for Oda, and then, you know, they you know, they were both rookie manga authors, you know, coming into Jump at the same time, you know, and so that's kind of how they became friends. So, like, I don't know, it's like, it's a complex situation, and obviously, like, because we're so distant from it, there's so much that we can't really know, but so, and that's a big part of why I can't really, like, blame anyone for feeling the way they do, even though I feel like, you know, again, I had no problem reading Toriko, really, even knowing about the author. So it's like, you know, so it is pretty unfortunate, but you know, that's just how it went. So
yeah, and I mean, like, it's go on. I was just gonna say, like, it's not like, you know, like, just a bunch of different ways I've been thinking about this in, you know, coming into this discussion, and like, I know, you know, we've covered some, like, what's a better word than problematic? Because I feel like problematic's lost all meaning at this point.
Yeah,
but you know, like in Kinnikuman, you know, like one of the characters is a Nazi, the blackface. So like, you know, it's not like we haven't covered like just bad shit, outdated, whatever.
But yeah, I see where you're coming from. Kind of like, because this is a bit more recent, and you know, like this case is like the author was literally like held trial and, you know, charged for his crime, basically. Where in the case of Kinnikuman, it's definitely a little yikes, but also like I don't know, having ideas that aren't great and putting them in your manga are different from doing shitty things.
Yeah, because like I know it's not just the, you know, mangaka for Kinnikuman that did it. Like, didn't I mean, I'm just going off of hearsay, but aren't there other
the channels? Yes, there was the blackface music group that was inspired from Kinnikuman. Right? Is that what you're thinking of?
No. I was just thinking other mangaka or creators in the past, like playing into those stereotypes. Or
okay, yeah, no, I gotcha. No, even Tezuka, you know, like by virtue of his cartoony style, like the way he drew black people was a little, you know, iffy. So, and he's literally one of the most, he's the guy. He's the manga. He's the most important, like, he was really important for both the way that manga and the anime industries are today. Like, you know, it's fucking Tezuka, right? But, you know, so, products of the times, so to speak. But, you know, I guess that really can't be said with Shimabukuro in that sense. So, because it wasn't even really in his manga. It was just something he did as a person. So,
I think another thought I was having was like, even if we are approaching it from like, oh, you know, wanting to get the history of the magazine and like shonen as a demographic, like there are so many other things we could be reading and dealing with way before we even get to, you know, something like Kenshin or Toriko. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think a big thing for me was just like, I wouldn't have felt comfortable talking about it. I'm almost entirely sure that like, if we had tried to go through with the discussions, I would have had pretty much nothing to say, because I'm, regardless of the quality of the material, I don't want to talk about it really. And like, if I'm going into a series already in bad faith, you know, that's also part of why, although that's for completely different reasons, why, you know, I don't want to cover Kinnikuman Nisei is because like, do you really want to hear a discussion when, you know, half of the podcast is not approaching the material in good faith?
Yeah, like even knowing or hearing about how like it's supposed to get like better, which of course a manga author would get, or a pair in this case would get better as time goes on. And, you know, from what I've heard, there's also a part of the manga where the main character takes a shit in a toilet-shaped antagonist, and I'm like, Mathwiz isn't gonna like this.
There's already so much content out there of people not approaching media in good faith. I don't feel like that's just not what I want to be doing, even if, you know, the difference between Kinnikuman Nisei and the reason why I don't want to read Toriko is very different.
Right. Yeah, and so like, and I guess as far as like losing out on the Toriko discussion is like, the only thing I can think of that, unless like something clicked, like let's say hypothetically the Shimabukuro stuff didn't happen, and you read it, like I still don't think it would be your thing unless maybe something about it clicked with you. But I can't even imagine what that would be. And aside from that, the only like amusing thing to talk about would be the very obvious Hunter x Hunter influence, where it's like so there was in the volume 1 or 2 there was a big gate that I saw and I was like, that looks kind of like the big gate outside the Zolik family estate. Though not quite the same, but like definitely some similarities. And then like just the fact that like gourmet hunters also exist on Hunter x Hunter, where it's kind of like he took that and made an entire manga around that, which I think is creatively neat. Like, I'm not saying the similarities of Hunter x Hunter are a bad thing, but it's just like, it's your favorite series, and here's a series you like less, having some influence, like some clear influence, basically. So that would have been a talking point, at least. But other than that, like, at least from what I read, like, I mean, I had the thought of, like, who would Mathis' aesthetic character be? Probably nobody, just because, especially now, at least now, just because of, the fact that you're not interested in reading it, or discussing it, at least.
Like, I guess what I was trying, I don't know if I fully finished the thought earlier, but just, like, I don't, if people wanted to read it, to go along with the discussion and whatnot, like, I don't think that's a problem, I guess it's just like, not that the Nen Show is like a particularly big platform, like it's not going to affect the reach that the author has already, that so it's like not for that reason. It's just like, I don't know, I just kind of don't want to bring that into, like, the podcast, we're just here to kind of like, I don't know, it's just not really what I'm doing the podcast for, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, like you said earlier, that why add to more bad faith discussion of media, so
I didn't have any bullet points down. I'm kind of just all going off the cuff, so maybe there's stuff that I'm wanting to say but not getting at. I don't know.
I feel like I've said most of my thoughts regarding just Toriko and the author, and though I will say, because I might have cut myself off before earlier, but aside from me doing a Toriko vlog video on this channel, I think I was kind of getting to it, right? So the 30th is this episode coming out. Alongside is going to be a poll. Oh no, I got cut off because I was talking about how we're not going to read Kenshin, or I guess also Leader Takashi, the Shimabukuro's other anything else he did. Like obviously, like Build King, we wouldn't read anyway because it's too short. Because that was one of his canceled series that he did a couple of years ago. We're not reading it, and obviously Okdaj wouldn't be a Nen Show, or it would be a book club series if we did read it, and maybe Mathwoods would be a bit more interested in that one, but I still think it's still less likely than just the average like random ass series that but basically we're doing a poll. You can go vote on it now and pick that's the next series we're going to be reading. So the poll will go for a week, and then we'll have another week to read the series, after which we'll discuss it, and then the episode will come out when it comes out for whatever series. The only request I have is, damn it, no, I was going to say, I don't know, like, if you guys really, really want to, I don't blame you because it's a popular series, but my issue is just like, okay, I know I need to reread MHA because right now I just don't care about it. But also, it's almost over. Please just wait until it's over. It's so close to being over. Why? Like, I just don't want to be in a spot where, like, literally read up to the last arc and then stop for like a year and then come back to read the last arc. So I don't know. That's just a personal preference, I guess. So I'm not going to stop you. Maybe spite votes will cause it to get even more voted, but and we'll read it. No, there's no reason not to read it. But I'm also just a part of me is like, come on. So, sorry. Just letting my bias. I try not to influence the poll, but in that case specifically, it's like, come on, guys, just let it end. So. Anyway, maybe someone will have different thoughts or just not care and want to hear us talk about MHA, but which I don't blame anyone for. But I think that about covers it.
Yeah, if there was more that I wanted to say, I don't remember it. I don't remember it at this point.
Okay. Yep. No problem. Maybe if it's important, you could leave maybe a comment or something. So I think that'll cover it then. So yeah, thank you. So apologies for any.
Oh, right. Were you gonna what we're gonna do in the meantime until the poll gets decided?
Did you say show? Was that it? Or
well, I mean that we were gonna take a break on the Nen Show for.
Oh yeah, that was kind of implied because there's no other series. Sorry, I guess I didn't directly say it. Though I guess while we're here, I will mention. So wait, did we ever talk about it on the main channel? Shit, the book club.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, last or was it last month, mid I think it was like the 19th or something. It wasn't archived or well you maybe
I didn't get to it in time. It slipped my mind.
Shit, it's gone forever. Okay, so we're doing what we're calling the Nen Show Book Club, which is basically a way that we are using to read a non-action shonen series, where basically every other month. Around the middle of the month, we're going to do a stream where we talk about whatever series that we're reading. And so in March, what we did was we did Blue Box, which is the currently ongoing sports romance jump series. I picked it because Mathwiz didn't need to reread it, and it was kind of like a test run to see if it would work. And we also announced that we would be doing Dr. Slump for the next Nen Show Book Club, which would be around mid-May. I think May 21st might be the date, or around then. If you want to read Dr. Slump and join us for the book club, and the difference between the Nen Show is like it's by streaming it's going to be a more like instead of like a point by point discussion like chapter by chapter, it's going to be more of just like one big discussion on the series, and we'll also have, because we'll have chat, the audience will be able to like add their thoughts in as we're discussing it. Is the hope. So, since the Blue Box one was kind of a test run, Dr. Slump will be the first, like, actual one. So, and I assume we'll be backing it up on this channel as well.
The first one was kind of meant to be sort of like a prototype, and I could have archived it, and it just slipped my mind. But, like, in the future, yeah, I definitely am going to go out of my way to make sure that those are archived. And, yeah, probably post them here.
So, I'll probably also try to remember to mention that in the next episode of whatever we're doing next, because I guess by that time it'll be really close to the actual stream happening, so maybe it's a little late, but it should still be mentioned on the main show anyway. I've forgotten until now. Probably because I've been so excited to talk about Wano and Boruto that I forgot about the other things. Like fucking during Boruto, you were like, "Isn't there a poll?" And I was like, "Fuck, there is a poll that I didn't mention." So. All right. Thank you guys. Once again, apologies, and see you next time. Thank you for listening.